Hey guys, so I did a video yesterday about failing my driving test and various other things, and I was at the time waiting for some news, for an update on a very close family member, direct family member, who is very ill, and we were waiting to find out if this person might be a lot more ill, like very, 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 very ill. Very poor prognosis. And I'd been waiting all week. I found out I was going to get this news on the same day as the exam. So I was getting ready all week to do the exam, and then directly after the exam find out this news. I didn't sleep, most of the week. I mean, the night before I was literally up all night. And oh man. So I did the exam, I had that whole thing which I talked about, and I felt it was a bit of a joke, but whatever. I sort of moved on, went home, and found out that this person is very ill, and it's a very complicated situation. Basically, I might not be able to see this person without at least significant risk. It's hard to explain, but it's a very, very, very odd, very uncomfortable situation, which is quite confusing for everybody, and pretty insane. If you know a bit about what's going on in the UK for the last few years, what's been going on, then I don't know, you might have some idea of what's happening, but basically, it's fucked. So I'm still trying to figure that out, which is probably the most sort of awkward thing I've ever dealt with in my life. Awkward, not awkward in the Miley Cyrus sense, but awkward in the, how the fuck am I ever going to deal with this rock and a hard place kind of sense. So spent last night dealing with that and thinking, that kind of puts the exam into perspective. Although at the same time I felt like, man, bad timing, to deal with both. Would have been good if I had at least some good news on that day and wasn't going to have all this financial worry looming over me. And also the fact that I don't know, I'm not sure, am I going to be here anyway to redo it? So have I just spent thousands of euros that I didn't really have on nothing? Anyway, I then, went to sleep last night after a very sort of angry, depressed evening. Went to sleep, and this morning I woke up and got my results for the exam, and I looked at them, and in the car after the exam, he told me I committed 4 grave errors. I was like, 4? Man, I knew I hadn't. I thought, if I have, then I don't know what the fuck I've been learning in these classes and why no one's been telling me about these 4 major errors, and if you get 3, you're out, or if you get 2 or more even, I think. 2 if you get 2, or if you get 1 plus 5 minors or something. So and I thought 4, but what's the fucking point arguing? This is done. This guy's made his fucking mind up, so forget it. I got my results today, and there were 3 minor errors and 2 major errors, and they were both the same one. So he repeated the same one twice. And so had he just put that once, I would have passed. And I recall exactly what it was, because when he explained it to me in the car, I thought, he's given me 4, like, the examiner's not, my teacher is nodding, my instructor was like nodding along as if like, yep, 4 errors, 4 major errors. And he explained everything so fucking fast, even though I'd asked him to explain it slowly. I was like, I'm gonna just be here all day, there's absolutely no point trying to argue this. They're both on the same side. I don't have a fucking clue what he's saying. He's speaking so unbelievably fast. And that's it. There's no point. Little did I know, actually, had he not put that down twice, had he put it down once, or even just not at all, because I don't think I even fucking did it, then I would have passed, and I could have argued it. So what the error was unnecessary detention at an intersection or roundabout. And I remember what happened. I remember this happening once. It didn't happen twice. It happened once. I was going into a roundabout and a 4x4 came round really fast as I was entering the roundabout. It came round really fast without signalling that it was leaving. So this car was leaving the roundabout, but it didn't signal that way. It just carried on. No, I beg your pardon, sorry, I'm a bit tired. It didn't signal that it was leaving. It signalled that it was carrying on in the roundabout, and it was coming really fast. And I thought, well, best to stop and give it a second. So I stopped like a couple of inches over the line, like barely at all, because this car sort of surprised me. And then he left the roundabout, and he hadn't signalled, you know, and had been driving too fast in the roundabout. So like, I don't know, man. Like, it to me, it's one where really, if you give that as an error, you're just trying to fail the person. You're trying to be a dick. Anyway, yeah, that was it. It didn't happen again. And so he's just being a fucking prick, basically. And the teacher told me, he said, get there early and I'm going to show you all the lights, because I've only had a few classes in this car. And I said, can you, in my previous class, I said, he's going to ask me about the lights and the windscreen wipers and shit. Can you show me them? And he was like, we'll do it before the exam. Arrive early before the exam and we'll do it. I get there early. I'm sat around waiting ages before he said, and he's just chatting with the examiner the whole time. And then he's like, come on, let's go. And then, of course, we get into the car and he goes, show me all the different things. And I'm like, I don't know, because no one showed me in this car. I don't know where everything is in this car, you know? I didn't learn in this car. So I got that as a fucking error. And my instructor, who was obviously friends with the guy, they were obviously very chummy because they were chatting the entire time. The whole exam, they were fucking nattering, man. Like, how can you focus on someone's exam when you're doing that? Utterly unprofessional, beyond belief. And just chatting about football and stuff. And he didn't say to him, look, mate, I said I would show him the lights this morning. He didn't say anything. He sat there with his tail tucked between his legs like a little girl. And he did the same when the guy was telling me 4 major errors. And I looked at him, I was like, 4? What? And he was like, like a little girl. Like, you know, he didn't try to reason with the guy, because the guy's a bit older than him and he obviously feels he has to defer to this fucking douchebag examiner and has to kiss his ass and chat with him the whole time to keep him company while he does his fucking job, because he can't just do it professionally and quietly. So he obviously just went along with it because this guy said it. 4, you know, unbelievable. And I get it, and it's 2. So I probably could have said in the car, had I known it was so close, I could have said, look, where was the second time I did it? And also, the other time it wasn't my fault. There was a 4x4 driving very fast and didn't indicate, and it left me no choice but to stop. But I didn't know I had that option because it wasn't made clear to me that I had that option. So yeah, man, infuriating, absolutely infuriating. And I'd said to myself yesterday, I'm going to get up today and, oh, fucking hell, my arms are tired. I should have brought the stick. I said I'm going to get up today and be really productive. I was like, first thing today, it was tomorrow at the time. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to get up and just like do shit and be super productive and just kind of like just push, just plow through all of this, you know, steamroller it and get productive, start trying to sort things out, start trying to make some money, recoup some of what I've lost, start strategizing, etc, etc. And I've woken up today and just been consumed by anger, which I know is wrong, and I know but it's difficult to know sometimes, you know, because if you don't have that ever, you sort of don't, it's harder to look out for yourself, and you feel like you're more likely to let things slide that maybe you shouldn't, like this, you know. I'm considering an appeal, not because I think it will go anywhere, but just because I'm pissed off. And I've said all of this to my instructor. He's read it and not replied, because there isn't a response, you know. They completely fucked me, and I'm more annoyed at him than anything, because he didn't, I said to him, even in the exam, I said, what if the instructor, in the class, I said, what if the instructor doesn't see something? It's funny, we had this exact conversation. I said, like, what if I do something and he hasn't seen, you know, that the car signaled its intention to let me pass, or whatever the thing was? And he said, well, I'll look out for everything as well. So if the examiner doesn't see something, I'll see it. That didn't fucking work, did it? Anyway, so in a way, but then I don't know, you know, because in a world where none of us get angry at anything and we all just go, oh, fuck it, that's just, you know, what it is. No one will ever complain, and people will just carry on doing things like this, and people get away with it, and there's no one's held to any sort of standards. And my anger isn't really holding anybody to any sort of standard. Nobody is going to care, most likely. It might add up to a sort of cumulative weight of lots of people's complaints and anger, and eventually mean something, but it's unlikely. But I still just feel that if we just abandon all kind of hope of affecting change with our reactions to things, or we just abandon, you know, being angry, like perceived injustices, then we just sort of like are mostly kind of just accepting them. I know there are other ways to change your circumstances or to react to things without anger and without making yourself suffer, and that's a difficult thing for me. Other emotions I can get under control pretty well, but like anger is a difficult one. I get really, really angry, and it's a weird thing, anger, because it like comes out in other ways. I guess with all of the major sort of negative emotions, it's the same thing. But like this morning, I was trying to write a to-do list for the day, and I was like fucking shaking, and then the pen stopped working even though there was ink in it, and I was like licking the pen and trying to fucking write with it and shaking it and stuff, and I don't do this anymore, but I used to a lot, like just flip out, you know, like inanimate objects and stuff. I think like a lot of men do at a certain point in their lives, and ideally most of us like grow out of it, but it depends on the severity of the situation as well, like, you know, but I used to like break things and smash things and just go crazy, and childish tantrums really is what they are, and I used to have that a lot, especially when I was doing a lot of drugs, to be honest. Like I would just like smash things and get really worked up, and then get very upset that I'd done it, and it's a very childlike, demeaning and unproductive state to be in, but it happens, and it's hard to regulate your own emotions all the time, you know. And I feel generally like pretty good at doing that. I mean, like good at being grateful and positive most of the time, because like there's a lot of stuff in life at the moment that's very difficult, but you know, as you can see, there's like palm trees behind me and stuff, and I'm not oblivious to that. Like I'm not oblivious to not even just that, but how many other things I'm lucky to have, and how many things are really good. Like I'm fully aware of that, and that's It's all stuff that I appreciate a lot. So in day-to-day life, that helps because, it's better to focus on the things that are good than the things that are bad. But it's hard to regulate your emotions all the time, I guess, and I can shift into different narratives. I can sort of find myself in the I'm so lucky, and I have such a great environment around me, and everything in my immediate vicinity is like really good, and I've had so many positive experiences in my life, and I'm lucky within myself as well. Like I have like qualities that I'm lucky to have and things, and I have people that I'm lucky to have, and I'm also lucky in terms of like I haven't been life hasn't punished me for all of my mistakes. I've been quite lucky, like in a lot of ways, and I can think about that a lot and focus on it a lot. And then there's other times where I'm like, man, like everything seems to go wrong, like in Shakespearean ways, where it feels like it's by design. It feels like it's designed to just keep us a certain level of difficulty and stress, and to keep me on a kind of like treadmill of just like never being able to move forwards. And then every time I things start going well, immediately something terrible happens, like something absolutely terrible, and it's hard to ever settle into things being good. I remember when I first got the dog, our dog, and we weren't sure if we were going to get her, and I'd been saying like, man, if I get this dog, I'm going to just never complain about anything again, as long as we can just get her. I just didn't want her to go back to her other owner, and we were so desperate to keep her. And then when we got her, I was like, for about 2 weeks, I was like so fucking happy, man. I was making sure, I was checking myself every time something annoyed me. I was like, fuck that. Every time I thought about my bank account, I was like, fuck that, just forget it. This is perfect, this is what you wanted, be grateful. And I was so happy. And then about 2 weeks after that, I found out this person is like very ill, and their situation has gotten worse and worse all the time. And as I said, it's a very, very awkward situation at the moment with regards to me. I haven't been able to see this person, and I don't know if I will. And that is very, it's hard to describe how weird that is, and how much pressure that puts on you. It is a very complicated situation that's hard to describe, basically, and that whatever. But there's a lot of layers to it, and it's mental, absolutely mental. So that happened, and then the other day, we've sort of been adjusting to all of this, and then like a week ago, I was like, man, things are so fucking good, I was thinking, like, because there'd been a few ups and downs, and I was like, man, life is amazing. And I always try to check myself, like, when things are good, think like, life is amazing right now, so good. Like, yeah, it's not perfect, but I don't give a shit. Like, it's so good, man. Like, so lucky. And then get this terrible news, like a week later. And at the moment, it's very hard to know what the future holds. It's very hard to imagine how this situation will progress. It's incomprehensible to me at the moment. And I think it's easier to focus on the things that are just making me angry. It's easier to focus on inanimate objects, like a pen, or like douchebags, like a driving instructor or examiner, than it is to really grapple with what's really happening. It's too big to really contend with and think about, and I can't believe it, honestly. I mean, literally, I can't really believe it. I struggle to believe what's happening at the moment. and I struggle to fathom what is probably about to happen and how unbelievably bad and upsetting it's going to be. It's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I still have the same impulses, like I start thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna do something about this, with the exam and everything. I was messaging my instructor today. I was like, what the fuck is all this about, man? He told me in the car with you 4 errors, and I said, you didn't tell me any of these things when we were doing classes. You told me I was ready. I drove really well. You didn't say anything, and one of these errors is for the fucking lights, which you told me you were gonna, and you sat, I didn't say it like this. I said it a bit more politely, but I said all of this, and he's just reading it and not replying, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna fucking, and then it's like, what am I gonna do? He's my fucking driving teacher, I'm not gonna show him. Like, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, well, success is the best revenge, and then just go and carry on failing at everything. He's like, oh, remember that guy who I barely remember, who was one of many people who I've, done driving lessons with? Yeah, well, it turns out he's a fucking loser. And that really showed me for not instructing him properly, allegedly. So it's like, what is the point of these feelings? That they don't really they don't go anywhere, like those kind of vengeful, angry feelings. Maybe if you're in like sports or something, like there's a lot of stuff you get from sports, from athletes, that you can't apply to real life. I was thinking about it with the exam, because when I did my first couple of exams, I watched a lot of stuff, a lot of like athletes talking about how they handle pressure and how to like be in the moment and like do all of this shit, and it really doesn't apply, because sports is like a fight. If you're like a footballer or a basketball player, it's like a fight. Like, so you have to really put like maximum effort in, and really on the court or on the pitch, like really fight and put a lot of energy into it. You don't do that in a driving exam. You don't go in like, fuck it, let me drive, you can't do that. It's stupid. And if you make a big enough mistake, that's it anyway. So it's just not like you can be like, let me fix this, I scored an own goal, but let me fucking fix it. It doesn't work like that. If you fuck up, you fucked up, and you have to be, it's a totally different thing. And in life in general, like being vengeful, being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking train really hard, and the next time we play them, I'm gonna fucking score. Like, most of the time in life, that isn't really a good motivator, I don't think, anyway, not in my experience. And I still go through it a lot in my head when these things happen, or when I'm annoyed. I'm like, we'll fucking see in 5 years, yeah, we'll see who's a fucking loser, we'll see who's gonna, whatever. And then in 5 years, I haven't proven anything, I haven't proven any kind of point, and anything that has changed for the better is not because of that. It's not because I was vengefully angry, or because, whatever. It's just because I just did things for the right reasons. It's hard to do things for the right reasons when you're in a state like this, and it's hard to know how much time to dedicate to it, because there's a part of me is like, if I just try and wake up and pretend everything's normal, that's how your problems come out in other ways. I really do believe that. I know it sounds like a kind of like an old fucking wives' tale or something, but like, when if you don't deal with your emotions, I really believe they come out in other ways. They come out in behavior, or they come out in just detachment from life, or they come out in making bad choices, or they come out later on as other emotions. It's very important to process what happens to you, but I also know there's a limit where it's stupid and a waste of time. Like, I was just lying around last night, just like fucking holding my head, like, think from the sleep deprivation. And it got to a point I was like, I don't think this is making me feel better or helping me at all. And probably I need the courage and strength to say, you know what, like, let's just watch a movie and have a laugh or something, or like, let's just like, you know, go out for a walk, or let's do something else, because this isn't helpful, and it's like, it's gratuitous, and it you know, it's productive to do things like this, like to explain what's going on and talk about it and talk about how you feel about a situation. But to just maybe sit there being like, oh, you know, like that doesn't really do anything. And it can be hard to know anyway where the line is, you know, like when it becomes pointless, when you just have to move on. Because I've seen people become very, that illness is another thing. I mean, illness, when you don't, a lot of serious terminal illnesses are associated with varying emotional states, and there's a lot of interesting research on this, specific illnesses linked to specific emotional states. And to be honest, with this family member who is ill, I know that that's been a very big factor in this illness, and because of what this person has been through. And I don't want to be that way, you know. I've had a lot of family members who have suffered a lot and maybe not always dealt with it in the right ways, to be honest. Not always processed it, and not necessarily allowed themselves. Just make sure I'm not on the camera. Holding the camera, I should be on the camera. That'd be weird if I'm just talking and I'm just doing this. I'll make sure I'm not on camera while I'm. So yeah, a lot of you know, I've seen it in a lot of people where they don't deal with how they're feeling, and you see it come out in other ways. It fucks up their life, or it fucks up their health, or it just gnaws away at them. And I don't want to be that way, but I also don't want to be someone who's always fucking dwelling on everything. So there's a balance to strike there between dealing with things and then also just fucking moving on, really. I think sometimes it depends on the thing. I sometimes think if it happened, I don't think that, actually, forget it, but I'll just abort that thought. But yeah, so that's the difficulty now, is trying to move on productively, but also trying to maintain awareness and not just like boulder through everything. I don't know. So I guess, yeah, after this, gonna just go and try and get shit done and try and make things better, try and rectify some of these situations. Probably shouldn't waste too much more time worrying about appealing the exam result or complaining to the instructor, because it's not going to go anywhere. I just have to accept I'm at their mercy. And with the other stuff, I have to accept I'm at life's mercy to some degree there. I have absolutely no idea how it's all going to go. It's weird because you know, like, part of what makes it weird is that in the past there was a lot of pain and darkness in our life, me and my girlfriend, and a lot of very, very bad stuff, and it's taken years to get away from that, and it really has been like a huge amount of work, a huge amount of difficulty, and a huge amount of sacrifice and so much time, and I worry about all of it being for nothing. And there are certain things at the moment that really sort of threaten to jeopardize it, and I don't know, it's hard. There's no point really giving all these vague explanations of things, but yeah, have to see have to see what happens, and try and just continue doing the right things, making the right choices, and not wasting too much time, because there isn't much of it, you know? You don't get that much of it. I'm fucking 32 now, man. I can't believe it. Like if we have kids, by the time we have them, like by the time the first one is born, I'll probably be like in my late 30s. And if we have a few of them, then I'm gonna be like old as hell by the time they even leave home. So I feel already, you know, like time is going by fast, and it's very easy to waste it, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, there's a limit to how much can be wasted on like emotions and stuff. Got to make things happen. Got to keep the faith somehow as well, even when it seems ridiculous or impossible to do so. I think it's necessary. Whether or not it's correct is besides the point. I think it really is necessary to have faith, as George Michael said. Yeah, I think it's essential, really. Otherwise, you just fucking die, you know, and not literally necessarily, but you know, some people just sort of check out of life, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for all your comments as usual. I really appreciate all of that, and it's really it's just nice. It's nice to communicate through this medium and speak with people and stuff. It's great. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'm in now. I forgot the most important part of that video, the more positive aspect, rather than me just complaining about life. You know, when things go from bad to worse like that, I guess it kind of is a useful reminder that if something has gotten worse, if things have become worse, then there was room for them to get worse, which means some things were good before, and it's helpful to remember that, like that when things go from bad to worse, to look at how they were before they got worse and think maybe it wasn't so bad. And then if that wasn't so bad, maybe they could get worse still. And I would think that what's happening now isn't so bad. So it's important to remember that, I think, because unless you're in a very, very, very bad kind of like Fritzl dungeon type situation, it can always get worse. And there's probably always at least some things to be positive about, and some things that are good about the situation. And in most cases, a lot of things. In most people's lives, at least most people who, like, you know, have access to the internet and, you know, watch this kind of content, there's a lot of things to be grateful for, even if it doesn't seem like it. So yeah, that's an important reminder for me, like when things get worse, to think about the fact that maybe you didn't appreciate enough how they were before, and that maybe that's a reminder to actually, even in the face of what's going on currently that seems unthinkably bad, to appreciate that. And I think that's the most important thing to do. And I think it's the most important thing for me to try and do now, is try and appreciate the current situation, try and be happy, try and appreciate the opportunities I have available to me. And it shouldn't be that difficult, you know, because things are in many ways good. You know, in many ways bad, but in many ways good, really. Like, and it's better to focus on the ways in which they're good. If you found out, you know, for example, you had like, this was like your last day on Earth, you know, you wouldn't be thinking about the things that are bad. And of course it's not probably, hopefully, your last day on Earth. So in a way that's irrelevant, but I guess what I mean is that, like, this isn't how you would choose to live. it's just the negativity, you know, it's a reaction. It's not really something we would choose ahead of time. We wouldn't say, okay, I'm looking at the calendar of my life, and on the fucking 30th of June 2024 or whatever it is, that's not the date today. These videos aren't like they aren't that backlogged, in case anyone's confused. Whatever this date, something bad is going to happen. You wouldn't be like, okay, well, when that happens, I'm going to make sure I get really fucking angry. You would be like, oh, damn, that's bad that that's happening. Hopefully I don't have too bad of a reaction to it. And, you know, you would like prepare for it. But when things just happen, you just react negatively to them. Like, I guess what I mean, like, most people don't live the life that they would choose if they were taking time to choose how they're going to live. Most people don't live the way that they themselves would choose. They live the way that just happens. And sometimes it's good to try and think about that. Like, how would I, if I were choosing how to handle this situation, how would I handle it? If I weren't in the midst of this situation right now, how would I handle it? How would I prefer that I handled it? And to try and do it that way, to try and think about life in general on those terms. I think the same with you know, most of us, in terms of our ambitions and the things we do and stuff, we don't really live the way that we would you know, write down in a planner. We live just the way that our bodies and minds react to things in the moment. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna try and forget all of it and move on, really, and try and continue being positive, and yeah, work on that. All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Second time. Bye.